The acrid stench of burnt gunpowder aggressively punches through your sinuses, violently twisting together, with the hot metallic tang of fresh blood that is relentlessly spilling through the trembling gaps of your fingers. The deafening, ear-splitting shriek of artillery shells relentlessly plowing through the barren, unforgiving desert sand creates a catastrophic symphony that threatens to completely shatter your eardrums. Your chest heaves violently. Your heart hammers against your ribs like a sledgehammer, a frantic thudding rhythm that entirely drowns out the chaotic, panicked screams crackling through your tactical radio. Cold, clammy sweat instantly erupts from your pores, dragging icy trails down your spine and causing your heavy, mud-caked tactical vest
Command, this is
to
Legion.
cling
We're overrun.
suffocatingly to
Heavy
your
losses.
skin. You are
We need back
currently
now. They're
hunched over,
everywhere.
practically folded in half, beneath the skeletal remains of a withered acacia tree, your numb, unresponsive hands desperately applying maximum pressure to the gaping, jagged wound violently torn open across the pale neck of a young legionnaire. This kid has barely even lived past his 20th birthday. A gruesome froth of crimson bubbles violently erupts from the corner of his trembling mouth as his glazed, unfocused eyes slowly drift upward to meet yours. He wheezes, his voice a pathetic, broken rattle, struggling through the choked, blood-filled airway. "Did I do good, Chef?" A paralyzing, bone-deep chill instantly shoots upward from your mud-soaked heels straight to the crown of your skull. The abyss is currently staring right back at you through his rapidly dimming, fading pupils. You forcefully swallow down a massive, bitter lump of dry desert sand and suffocating guilt. You did great, kid. You lie to him with an absolute terrifying smoothness, not a single muscle in your face twitching. Bang! Everything goes entirely black. Your cold, deadened heart does not skip a single beat. An eerie, suffocating silence instantly blankets your hollow mind. The precise moment you picked up that rifle to kill for another man's dirty money, the old version of you was already rotting in the ground. Welcome to the Legion. 5 agonizing years ago, this entire downward spiral did not start with a blaze of glorious gunfire, but rather with a crushing, humiliating wave of absolute pathetic degradation. You stood shivering, a pathetic huddled mass right in front of the freezing, unforgiving iron gates of the obeying headquarters. A complete nobody, a cornered, desperate rat frantically fleeing from a suspended death sentence, and the rotting, putrid secrets of your miserable hometown. The biting night wind aggressively slapped your face, carrying the distinct, greasy stench of cheap engine oil perfectly mixed with the musty, lingering smell of dirty money from the street hustlers prowling the alleys. You finally took that step through those towering gates. The metallic, heavy clack of the iron locks slamming shut right behind you echoed with a bone-chilling finality. The verdict was officially sealed. You were immediately herded like diseased cattle into a bleak, decaying holding room that absolutely reeked of sour, stale sweat and the overpowering, nauseating dampness of moldy piss-stained mattresses. You surrendered your crumpled, worn-out passport to a faceless suit. The harsh, toxic smell of melting plastic and burning paper viciously assaulted your nostrils as you personally struck the match and watched it curl into black ash. Along with that pathetic pile of gray dust, your former name officially disappeared off the face of the earth. Absolutely no one in this massive, indifferent world knew who you were anymore. You had officially transformed into a ghost. They mockingly called you a volunteer, a worthless, expendable recruit who ranked significantly lower than a stray, mangy dog in their twisted hierarchy. Throughout those grueling, torturous first few weeks at the isolated training farm, the absolute only thing you were permitted to taste was the bitter metallic tang of your own blood and the soul-crushing absolute depths of physical exhaustion. Towering, hulking Eastern European officers built like brick walls with faces mapped in jagged scars and eyes devoid of any human warmth continuously roared their acidic spittle directly into your face. They beat you relentlessly, requiring absolutely zero justification. The sharp, violent clatter of their heavy, steel-toed boots viciously slamming against the freezing, concrete floor in the dead of the night signaled yet another brutal incoming wave of physical torment. You were violently forced to crawl on your stomach through freezing, icy mud, an incredibly heavy rock-filled rucksack severely crushing your spine while silently enduring bone-shattering kicks delivered straight to your vulnerable ribs. Your sense of touch went completely mercifully numb. Your blistered, raw hands constantly wept fresh blood as you were commanded to scrub filthy, overflowing toilets, using nothing but worn-down, useless toothbrushes. You harbored a deep, burning hatred for them. You screamed silently, your throat raw and bleeding on the inside during those flash-tearing, freezing winter nights, lying awake with your chin resting directly on the freezing, unforgiving tiles. Hell is absolutely not a fiery pit you dramatically jump into. It is merely a dark descending staircase that you willingly walk down, one miserable step at a time. Your naive innocence had been brutally murdered. Those ruthless, bloodthirsty hounds from internal security relentlessly drained every last drop of your sanity through agonizing sleep-deprived interrogations that lasted all through the night. They aggressively dug their filthy nails into every single fragile crack within your shattered soul, molding your mind and completely pulverizing whatever microscopic shred of self-respect you had left clinging to your bones. A starving, desperate dog is the only one that truly bites to kill. They understood that primal fact perfectly. You slowly, painfully learned how to bite your tongue and endure the agonizing pain. You learned the essential dark art of swallowing your pride and carefully hiding the makeshift sharpened shiv right beneath your rotting, lumpy mattress. You started to desperately crave power. You wanted more than anything to become the man holding the whip. And then inevitably, that fateful, transformative day finally arrived. The sacred, solemn ceremony of the white cap. The sharp, piercing blast of the brass bugles echoed loudly across the windy, desolate courtyard. You stood perfectly rigid chest, proudly puffed out, your cold eyes staring blankly straight ahead. But deep inside, you were entirely hollowed out. The sharp chemical stench of the fresh starch clinging tightly to your brand new white cap made your eyes sting violently. You had somehow survived the meat grinder. Rapidly sliding down the slippery, treacherous slope of moral decay, with absolutely zero breaks, you had clawed your way up to the rank of corporal. The brutal, unforgiving game had completely flipped. You were no longer the pathetic, broken wretch cleaning up human waste in the filthy barracks. You were now the absolute controller. The harsh, bitter taste of the cheap, watered-down red wine you chugged in that dingy, smoke-filled bar in Marseille could not even begin to soothe the raging, toxic fire of authoritarianism burning brightly within your veins. The stale, icy stench of cheap tobacco had permanently seeped into the very fibers of your thick uniform. For the very first time, you looked down upon a trembling, terrified, fresh recruit. The absolute paralyzing fear radiating from his wide, innocent eyes when he accidentally folded his thin blanket with a single tiny crease perfectly mirrored your own pathetic reflection from those years ago. A sudden explosive surge of pure, unadulterated rage erupted. It was not about the stupid blanket. You were violently jealous of the tiny microscopic shred of humanity that still miraculously existed within him. You viciously swung your heavy arm. A blinding, skull-rattling slap landed directly on the kid's face. That familiar metallic taste of blood instantly bloomed. His stifled, choked sobs, desperately suppressed in the pitch-black darkness, violently echoed against the chipped, peeling walls, incredibly making you feel a deeply sick, twisted sense of euphoric satisfaction. A freezing, chilling shiver rapidly sprinted straight down your spine. You suddenly realized to your absolute horror that you were smiling in the dark. Within this gilded, inescapable cage of pure violence, you desperately had to lie to yourself, pretending you were strictly disciplining them, when in reality you were completely addicted to the intoxicating rush of destroying them. You had successfully mutated into the exact same ruthless, heartless monster that you once despised with every fiber of your being. You quietly muttered to yourself while staring into the cracked, foggy mirror in the freezing latrines. In this godforsaken world, there are absolutely no good men, only those who deliver the beatings and those who receive them. The dark, creeping corruption had completely infected every single cell in your body. You wore the pristine white cap like a crown of thorns, completely unaware that it was slowly bleeding you dry from the inside out. You were becoming the perfect, well-oiled cog in an ancient, ruthless machine designed exclusively for grinding up broken men and spitting out remorseless killers. You are violently yanked right back to the suffocating, scorching heat of the blistering Malian desert. You are officially a sergeant now, hardened ghost, ruthlessly leading a highly classified black ops mission entirely erased from any official government paper trail. The deafening, ear-splitting shrieks of incoming RPGs aggressively tear through the heavy, dust-filled air. Your elite tactical squad is completely pinned down, mercilessly herded into a deadly calculated kill zone by overwhelming, heavily armed hostile forces. The air is incredibly thick, violently vibrating with the relentless concussive shockwaves of heavy artillery. The old man, your commanding officer, coldly barks the absolute final order through your crackling earpiece. The static transmission is entirely devoid of any human emotion. Abandon the wounded immediately, secure the package, and extract. That is the exact moment your frantic, panicked eyes drop down to the profusely bleeding young kid desperately clutching his violently torn neck directly on your lap. The exact same naive kid you ruthlessly beat down and brutally molded, who still foolishly looks up to you like a surrogate father figure. A sudden paralyzing wave of freezing nausea violently hits your empty stomach. You have precisely 3 agonizing seconds to make the ultimate impossible choice. You can directly disobey a direct order to desperately drag his heavy bleeding body through a relentless storm of hot lead, virtually guaranteeing a brutal court-martial and the absolute loss of everything you sold your soul to build. Or, you slowly trembling draw your heavy loaded sidearm. The cold metallic grip violently bites into your sweaty, calloused palm. You have to grant him the ultimate dark mercy to permanently silence his agonizing screams and ensure a clean, untraceable extraction for yourself. Your heart violently hammers against your ribs like a trapped wild animal desperately trying to violently escape its cage. The blinding, searing desert sun aggressively bakes the rapidly pooling crimson blood, heavily soaking your bruised knees. This is the absolute peak of the dark tragedy, the agonizing crossroads where whatever microscopic fragile shred of your lingering humanity violently collides with the ruthless, calculating survival instinct of the Legion monster you have successfully become. You violently swallow the bitter metallic taste of complete, absolute moral bankruptcy. You slowly, steadily raise the heavy black barrel, pointing it directly at his pleading eyes. You choose to coldly pull the heavy trigger. Time relentlessly bleeds away like a slow, torturous, invisible poison. You are finally honorably discharged, completely revered as a living, breathing, modern legend among the ghosts.
Don't leave me here.
You successfully secured an incredibly massive overflowing retirement fund, a highly coveted permanent French residency card, and a chest heavily burdened with shiny, completely meaningless metals. But you are currently sitting entirely alone, submerged in the pitch-black shadows of an incredibly lavish, disgustingly expensive luxury apartment right in the heart of Paris. The deafeningly oppressive, heavy silence inside this massive empty room violently rings in your severely damaged ears. The rich, velvety taste of the unbelievably expensive vintage red wine you are desperately downing tastes exactly like the phantom metallic blood permanently coating your dry, rotting tongue. You cannot wash it away. Your right hand, the exact same calloused, stained hand that flawlessly squeezed that heavy, fatal trigger, is now violently, uncontrollably shaking, completely unable to steadily hold a simple, fragile glass of water without spilling it everywhere. A chilling, haunting voice heavily echoes inside your hollow, empty skull, bouncing off the luxurious walls. They confidently promised that the legendary Legion would graciously gift you a brand new, incredible life. They lied through their rotting, filthy teeth. It viciously, completely stripped away every single piece of your old, pathetic life and brutally handed back a perfectly functioning, entirely hollow corpse. Dirty money cannot possibly buy you a single second of peaceful, restful sleep. It merely purchases a significantly more expensive, luxurious bed for you to violently thrash around in during your relentless nightly night terrors. The absolute exact second you willingly picked up that heavy loaded rifle, strictly to bleed for another man's dirty money, you had already successfully assassinated your own miserable soul. The dark, terrifying abyss did not just stare back at you. It violently opened its massive jaws and completely swallowed you whole, leaving absolutely nothing behind but a heavily armed ghost.